8 things to remember when going through tough times. It seems like from the time I left my parents' home at 17 and joined the Army, that most of life has been tough time. I told somebody recently that life is all about getting through the tough times. You'll go through a very long, tough time, and then you'll have a short period of pure joy when everything seems to click and everything's wonderful. And that's what you focus on. The tough times, they do just that to a person. They make you tough so you can endure the future tough times, so you can enjoy those short periods of pure joy. Today, I had several hours of pure joy. My granddaughter came, she ate, we shared a cup of coffee and had a talk. Then the 3 of us, Grandma, Grandpa, and my granddaughter, shared, we played a game, aggravation it's called. My brother in Missouri makes them and sells them on Etsy, by the way. But when I came across this right after she left, I thought this is something I need to share with people because it is important, and people do go through tough times. And I know that there was a time in my life when I didn't think I was going to get through those tough times. But you see me sitting there, I did. And you could too. You can too. So it says 8 things to remember when you're going through tough times. Number 1 is everything can and will change. I don't know why I fight change so much, but I do. But it seems like the less you're worried about change and the more you just accept that life is going to change. Number 2, you've overcome challenges before. You know, I can't remember a time when I haven't had a challenge that I didn't overcome. Some challenges took longer, some were easier, but you always overcome them. And I always used to think people that said the problems were challenges. I thought, yeah, right, okay, fine. But it really is true. If you take a person that focuses on the problem and lets it defeat them, it almost had me defeated one time. But they look at it instead as a challenge, something to overcome, something that's there to teach you something you can overcome from. Changes the whole outlook when you look at problems as challenges. Number 3, it's all a learning experience. That's what life is. We wake up, we stumble, we learn, we don't stumble at that spot. You know, somebody once said that if I had an employee that really messed up, if it was an honest mistake, and even though it cost the company money, I'm going to support that employee and keep him because I just spent X amount of dollars training him. Because smart people, and I can't include myself in this too much, but smart people will make mistakes. They just don't make the same one over and over and over. And so the more mistakes, I know it sounds crazy, but with that logic, the more mistakes I make, the more I'm learning. But that's absolutely true. And I've had many bosses that showed me grace, and I learned, and I didn't make those mistakes again. Brings us to number 4. Not getting what you want can be a blessing. Oh, man. I got what I wanted. I got what I thought I wanted when I married my first wife. Moved heaven and earth. We had 2 children, and she lost her mind. It was like she was a different person. She lost her mind. And when things hit the fan, friends and family were telling me, well, she's always been like that. Chuck, didn't you know that? How could you not know that? I didn't. The old saying, love is blind. Yeah, well, it's deaf and dumb too. It's just insane. So sometimes when you don't get what you want, it's really for the best. It goes back to that quote that I shared in another video, is that God always answers prayers. People think that, well, God, I keep praying, but God doesn't answer my prayer. No, he answered you. The answer was no. You kept praying for something, and he just said no. And like I've told my daughter many times, the no, you can't have that job. You can't have that promotion, because I have something better in store for you later down the road. And you know, I have a daughter that just lost out on a huge promotion that she was entitled to. And to her credit, instead of she was horribly disappointed, but instead of lingering on it, her attitude was, well, Dad, I must have something bigger for me. And he does. He absolutely does. So that brings us to number 5. And number 5 is probably among the most important, because I've always been a serious person. My father used to tell everyone, well, Charlie's been 60 since he was 6. Everything is serious with him. So it made me a good worker. And my bosses appreciated that I was, especially when I was young, that I was someone that actually did what I said I was going to do. I followed through. I was a serious person. But number 5 says you have to allow yourself to have some fun now and then. Today, again, was a perfect example. We had a conversation with our granddaughter, and then we played aggravation, and we had fun. Except when they both would gang up on me and knock me home again. No, we had a great time. I'm retired, and after a lifetime, I started working full-time when I was 15. Full-time, 40 hours a week, and going to school. And it pretty much hasn't stopped since, except the last couple of years that I've been retired. And it's so great. Midnight, I see a movie I want to watch. I watch it. So I go to bed at 3 in the morning. I sleep until 11 o'clock. I'm retired. But I do try to make some videos consistently, but it can be hard. That brings us to number 6. Be kind to yourself It's the best medicine for you. I couldn't tell you how many times I've made myself miserable, stressing and fretting over things that, it was once said, I know worrying about my problems solves my problems because 90% of what I worry about never happens. No, I think that that quotation, I think he's got a little bit backwards, but actually that's the point of it. But 90% of what we worry about never happens. And the 10% that does is usually so minor that it's nothing compared to what we've made it up in our minds. So we need to be kind to ourselves and not do that to ourselves. Number 7, other people's negativity isn't worth worrying about. Someone asked me one time, well, Chuck, you always seem to hang around people that are smarter than you. Well, they're not always smarter, but I do try to surround myself with people that I can learn from. So if that makes them smarter than me, okay. Number 8, the last one on the list of the top 8. There are always, and I do mean always, something to be grateful for. My granddaughter was just telling me about a homeless man. I had no idea we had a homeless man in my community because he doesn't look homeless and he doesn't walk the streets, and it's a small town. And she works midnights at a particular establishment. I don't really want to call them out. And the homeless man will come in there sometimes to use the microwave to heat up the dollar. It's the cup of Ram's noodles soup, and that he bought at the dollar store when he had some money. Now he's living on the street. He used to live out of his car. He said, I don't know what happened. And so he heats up, and he just appreciates. He thanks him. He's so appreciative that they don't care. He come in, use the microwave. It's sitting right there. It's no big deal. What bothers her is that the company says you can't give away food that is on the shelf, that they make sandwiches, pizza. When the time limit is up, it has to be taken down and fresh stuff put up, and that stuff has to be thrown away. And she said it used to be that I could set some of it aside and give it to him. She said, I can't do that anymore. Good advice, apply it to your life. If you don't, then I'm sorry I wasted your time. But at least maybe you got a laugh or two, because I've made just about every mistake you can make in life. And I'm still here. I'm still talking, and I'm still trying. And you can too. So if you liked it, hit that like and share button down below. Share it with your friends. Grandpa Chuck will see you next time. Bye, everyone.